Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. We've got the 4 fabulous wise women in the house. My name is Shay Ryan Douglas. Welcome back, everybody.
I can see you going in there. Yes.
All right. Apologies for the delay. It is currently 3:33 here in far north Queensland, and living up to its name, it is tropical and rainy and stormy. So you might be able to hear a little bit of the thunder and lightning going off in the background. It seems like the storm is brewing, and it's really interesting because today's topic is intuition, and I can feel it rumbling in my stomach sometimes, the intuition, just like the rumbling of the thunder and lightning that is currently taking place. But today I'm joined again by Angie, Colleen, and Sally, 3 beautiful, wise women. And I'd just like to thank you guys for watching. If you got any comments or questions you'd like to ask these ladies, please leave them in the comments section. If you like this video, please like it. And also, if you have someone you feel this would be relevant for, please share it as well. That'd be fantastic. But we're just going to jump straight into it. Maybe I'll start with Angie, if you would like to open up, because she's got something special to share with us all today. And it's really fun doing these live videos with these 3. They are starting to go viral. The last one has over 1,000 views. So people are really enjoying it. We're getting a lot of engagement. We've got Brenda already tuning in. Hey, Brenda. She says hello. That's fantastic. And but back to intuition. Angie, Quinn, would you like to open up and just share maybe your perspective on what is your intuition?
Yeah, Shay. Can I just check that you can hear me okay? And that my voice is not cracking up? You can hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you all good there, Angie.
Okay. I can't hear anybody.
The other ladies are on mute at the moment, but
you can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, all right, great. Yeah, this is one of my favourite topics, Shay, and I am currently writing a book on intuition. And that's probably come out of being an intuitive coach over the last 15 years, which was really born out of me living a very intuitive life, probably since the time I left home at 18 and left the conditioned responses of my parents and what I thought I should or could or would be doing. But started leading a life based on more on how I felt than what I thought I should do. Well, leading a life more that was true for me and not necessarily right based on what anyone else thought I should or could be doing. So the word intuit, when you look at it, it actually means to know or understand something based on a feeling rather than a fact. And intuition is actually a function of the right brain hemisphere. So the left brain hemisphere is the rational mind, and the right brain hemisphere is the more creative mind, and it's the more innocent mind. And even the word innocent comes, it says to us in no sense. So sometimes our intuition doesn't make sense. And that's where we start to lead a life that's really true for us and not necessarily right. And so basically, it's not of the egoic nature. When you're really living an intuitive life, it's not the egoic nature, which is based on your conditioned responses and patterns and structures and what have you. It's more of a heart-based orientation. It's a felt sense of direction, more so, and trusting your gut instinct. It shows up in lots and lots of ways, but basically that's kind of like the definition of intuition and what it means to intuit. If the girls would like to follow on from that, it's really following your gut instinct.
Yeah, so I kind of have always equated it. Oh, sorry, Sal.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I've always kind of equated it to like an inner knowing or that inner tuition. So tapping into that unconscious or that subconscious mind that kind of bypasses the rational mind. So it taps into that consciousness that connects all of us. And it's, for me, it's felt in the body. So this is one of the reasons why it's so important to really have practices that you're tapping into your body so you can feel into what's happening and feeling what is right for you in each and every moment, and having that presence around it. I think from the scientific explanations, when you're talking about quantum and energy, it's that that all-knowing space. And even if you walk into a room and you can feel that something's off, you can feel if there's lighter energy there, like we kind of look at as joyful or love, but we can also feel sometimes when there's tense energy, when there maybe been an argument or a disagreement, or more of like that heaviness that's going on. I feel like we are all born with that intuition and that inner knowing. And as children, if you're allowed to develop it and tap into it and strengthen it, it obviously serves you throughout your life. But often we get things put on us so that conditioned, I guess, in a way. So we start to lose that ability to tap into our inner tuition and trusting that. So I think, again, it's about balancing that inner knowing and the rational mind, where sometimes I feel like we get too caught up in one way or the other. And it really is about understanding, like being able to tap and sense into, what do I feel about that? Often I have had in my life where it hasn't made sense rationally to me, my feeling about something. And I know it's annoyed the crap out of my husband over the years, because I couldn't articulate that. I didn't know why something didn't feel right. And of course, always as you follow it, it's like, down the track, you usually go, oh, that's why we didn't make that decision, or that's why we chose not to go down that road. So it's quite a powerful tool to have for guiding your life.
Descriptions of what it feels like. And I really like the old sayings of the gut feeling and the in tune. So it creates harmony in your life. It seems that it's something that connects you with your higher self life path. So there's some kind of message that's coming through you that will steer you. It will almost give you, and I always find when I'm in the situation when it feels like you've got to make some really big decisions, there may be an exterior sign or symbol that comes to you, and I think if you are aware of what's happening all around you, it kind of reinforces that intuitive feeling. So it's just seeing and being awake to what's going on in the surroundings as well as the feeling in the body. So I think it compacts and backs it up when you're having those, hang on a minute, something's rumbling here, I can feel something going on. And then you may see something, it might be a car registration that has the word that you're looking for to direct you on the path of the direction that you're choosing. So I think there's lots of ways that we can tune in that can come to us,
For me, literally, they really speak to me. All the signs and symbols and synchronicities that I use as a way of receiving this higher guidance is number plates, it's goosebumps, it's heat going through my body.
Numbers.
Numbers, numerology, and even oracle cards. Really, really tuning in and listening. Really having that, being really present to listening, because for me, I don't necessarily work with guides. I work with my higher spirit as my internal guide, my internal teacher. And are you ready for a story?
Yay!
Ready for a story? Just in relation, I've got 100 of them, so which is one of the reasons why I decided to write the book. But one of them happened here in Byron Bay, and I went swimming. It was a really hot day, and I decided to go in with my hat and sunnies on. And it was really, really glary, and I really just wanted to have a dip and hop out. And so I did, and I started chatting with a couple of people in the ocean, and then I hadn't been under, so I thought I might just dip my head under just before I hop out. So I took my hat off, and then I went under, not realizing that I still had my sunnies on. And so and they were prescription sunglasses, so they were gone. Like, I felt them touch my leg, and then that was it. And sort of felt around, couldn't find them. The people that I was speaking with, they started diving for them, and then we stood on the edge to see if they'd get washed in, and they didn't. And after about 10 or 15 minutes, I thought, oh, they're gone. And so I sort of wandered back up to the beach going, oh, God, there goes $700 worth of prescription sunglasses. And I was lying on the beach, and I thought about, well, I needed a new pair, and I tried to rationalize and justify it. And then something within me just decided to let it go. You know, I was meant to get a new pair, and, you know, making it mean that was the sign. And I completely just surrendered. And next minute I heard my internal voice say, go into the ocean and get your sunglasses. And I'm there like, whoa, hang on a minute. And so I went, okay. And I got up, I walked into the ocean, and I was about 15 meters from where I actually lost them. I walked in, I got hip height in, and they were at my feet. I felt them at my feet, and I picked them up with my toes, and I was just screaming. I was just completely beside myself. And it was just this perfect example of listening and trusting. And because I'd spent years and years and years cultivating this trust in following my inner voice, it was just a beautiful process. And that was actually one of the reasons why I started writing the book, because I know that this innate knowing within us is available to all of us. And it's really sometimes when we give up the need to know, that's when we really know. That's when we really, really begin to hear what true knowing is, and then life initiates us wherever we're meant to be. Pretty radical, but just fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great story. That's really nice. And thanks for sharing, Colleen and Mum and Angie. What I took from that, what I was hearing from you was mostly all around the feeling base, the felt sense, the feelings, feeling into it was a really big element into it, into what I heard you share, and also the inner, like the inner wisdom, the inner knowing, the inner guidance, the truth coming from within for the intuition. And it's really kind of like mysterious, you know, because something, as a man, I always want to put like a tangible, physical, you know, like grasp onto what is it, and where is it, like how does it, like where does it come from in the body, or what, like trying to understand it on a very kind of logical, rational level. But it's so much more, from what I'm hearing from you, is that it's not rational, and it's not logical, and it's not like even physical, but it's more a deeper feeling and deeper knowing. And it's super curious for me. And like a question that has just come up for me that I would love to hear your response on is like, where does your intuition come from? You spoke to like the gut instinct. Is it primarily in the gut, or is it like you talked about the higher downloads or the higher spirit? What's your perspective on where the intuition sits or comes from?
I definitely feel that it comes from a higher self, on a soul level. I think it becomes it's a pathway to your soul presence, So for me, I would definitely say it has to do with spirit and life purpose, and it's almost a mystical experience.
Yeah, I agree. It's for me, I've always kind of thought of it as like a consciousness, and from that perspective, we are consciously connected to everyone and everything. So there's something that's bigger than us, and I feel like often it's coming from that space. And when we slow down enough and we can get into that stillness, and that we're like a clear channel, that we're able to connect with it, we feel it in our body. That's why for me, feeling is so important. I think we get so conditioned to think about things and be rational and be in that mental realm. And this is really much more in that space of energetic and emotional realm. My gut, like whenever I'm like, okay, I feel something, my hands automatically just go to my belly. It's like that gut knowing. And I know they talk about the gut as being like the second brain as well. But then you can have times where there might just be, like Angie was saying about, the goosebumps or the hairs stand up, on the body. There's this knowing. And I feel there's always usually a clarity and a calmness that comes with it as well. So I know that if I've got a lot of heightened energy around it or uncertainty, usually that's, I know my ego self or that other part of me that's kind of trying to take over and override, as opposed to it's just like it hits like thud. It's like I just know it. I can feel it in the bones, in every cell in my body. Yeah, so that's basically how I kind of would describe that.
Yeah, I can't add much more to that. Only that gut instinct, and that the body doesn't lie. When you're in a certain position where there's a choice available for you to make, and I know for myself, before I even have a thought, sometimes my body will go into either fight, flight, or freeze, or fear. And that's a really good indication for me to actually check in. One of two things, actually. I used to make it mean that it wasn't the right thing for me. But as I got to know more about my own shadow, my patterns and my conditioning, I really had to be discerning around whether or not I was fearful of making a choice, or was it my body actually informing me that this wasn't the right street to walk down, or the right man to go out on a date with, or the right house to buy. And sometimes I think the external environment informs us, and we're sort of like, it's a dance of our knowing and our not knowing, and it does become this capacity to just start and trust whatever it is that is what your body's informing you about any particular situation. So yeah, and particularly in my case with the I know, like, I'm not a I don't have a medical background, but in fight, flight and freeze, the blood comes away from the gut. I know that, and it goes into your arms and legs, and that's a really good indication for me that I've gone into that fight, flight and freeze and away from the gut brain. So it's my body saying to me, hey, there's something not quite right here, and I use my discernment based on that.
Beautiful response. I really like
did we answer your question, Shay? Just want to add to, you did make a comment that your male, I think you said the male part of you wanted something tangible. And interestingly enough, intuition is a characteristic trait of the feminine essence. And we know that the feminine essence is gender oriented. It lives both within males and female gender. But it is in that right brain. It is in, and not all the time, but the majority of the masculine essence wants the physical and mental. That's your go-to kind of thing. And that left brain, it wants to know, wants to find some logical reason around it. And yet intuition isn't, as the girls have said, it's not always logical or reason. There's no reason behind it. So it's not necessarily rational. It is at times seemingly irrational.
Yeah. And I think on that feminine pathway too, in order to be really connected to intuition, you have to be in that place of being receptive, which again is more that feminine, that pathway too. So there's a few things that tie in with that, and but also meaning, yes, that the feminine or the masculine energies in both men and women. So we all have access to that. It's just, I think maybe by nature, women tend to be more what's the word I'm looking for? More connected to that. Also because, you know, we birth children, and so we nurture, and just all those things that require us to be able to tap into that. Because when we become moms, for example, then we have to also tap into that for our children and help them cultivate that as well.
Yeah, I definitely think it's embodied in an embodied receptive path.
Yeah. And what would you say is like a consequence of not following your intuition? And like, yeah, do you have any experience or stories to share around that?
Financial loss around choices around buying property. The thing I'll just add here is that intuition doesn't necessarily lead you away from pain. It may lead you into the very lesson, and that's Sally before in relation to this, your life purpose and your soul path and whatever it is that you're here to learn. And I know my intuition has at times taken me into, an example, a relationship that had beautiful light about it, and that, you know, really brought me into my fullest expression of myself. But it also took me down some really dark paths where I got to look at my shadow, and where I got to see a number of behaviours within relationships that didn't necessarily serve me. And I can seemingly say I learned the hard way, or I learnt the only way that I could to get the actual lesson. So I'd say that intuition doesn't necessarily always lead you away from pain, and yet at the same time, the girls have probably got stories that they could share in relation to when you actually knew and you didn't follow it because your conditioning stepped in, or your beliefs that your mother and father said, you know, never do this or never do that, or your external environment, you just didn't feel safe enough to take that risk. And that's what intuition requires. It's actually a leap of faith in a lot of instances. And it's trust and being courageous and willing to be vulnerable. So the girls might have a story about when they didn't follow their intuition.
Oh. Yes.
Can't hear you right now, Stardog.
Yes, Sally.
Maybe the microphone's not connected there. The sound's just on. You're unmuted, but the sound isn't coming through there. It's okay.
I think one of the big things there is about the trust element, but I'm finding it difficult to remember a
Have we lost her?
Yes.
story that involves when I didn't follow my intuition. Okay. I'm
Sounds like her internet connection is unstable at the moment.
Yeah.
But I've got another question. Oops, she's dropped out. There she goes.
Okay. Can I just pipe in then, Shay? Because
Sure.
that was like, for me, it's funny. I'm sure there's plenty of times in my life when I didn't trust that intuition. And you remember having that thought process of, oh my gosh, see, I should have listened and I didn't. I can't think of like any of a story particularly off the top of my head, but I do remember the feeling of, when I haven't gone down that pathway, and then sure enough, it's like, oh, now this has happened because of this, and you kind of have that memory of that. We do a lot of traveling. Well, we used to, and one of the things that I can always remember about traveling is like tapping into your intuition when you're exploring places and you're wanting to go somewhere new. And a couple of years ago, we were on a cruise ship, and if you weren't back at the cruise ship at a certain time, they left you behind at the port. And we happened to be in Malta at this particular time, and we had dropped our daughter Nicola off. She was working on the boat, and she got on, and Steve and I were just kind of wandering around, and I thought, oh, well, let's go this way and just see what's over here. And we ended up finding these little boats that were doing tours of the river, and I thought to him, well, let's see if they'll just like take us on, and we can like pop on and go across this way instead of going back to where the ferry boats were. And sure enough, luckily we did, because apparently there was some massive incident that happened at the terminal, and all the boats were backed up and people were standing out in the hot sun for 2 hours with no water trying to get across. And here we had just trusted, like, let's just explore here and try this. And we just jetted straight across, no problem, and had a little adventure at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the story, Colleen.
Hi.
Are you there? Yeah, nice.
So I was finding it difficult to find a story that backed up the not following my intuition, but I do recall a story of when looking to the symbols of nature, we'd recently decided to relocate from Cairns to the Sunshine Coast, and we'd just gone to view a property, and hopping in the car, we turned on the radio and Xavier Rudd was playing, and he was singing his song about follow the sun. Oh. And we looked up and we saw an eagle in the sky, which to me represents freedom. And it was like everything was coming at us to confirm that we were on the right path and we should keep continuing down this road and make some decisions. And it was as if these tokens were coming to us to confirm what we were feeling with our intuition.
Yeah, beautiful.
Mm. Yeah, nice.
It's nice to be a resell. You're big from Sunny Coast to Cairns to Sunny Coast. Something that has just occurred to me in relation to when I'm not following my intuition, it's just occurred to me that I'm not trusting my inner power. So I'm actually giving my power away. I'm giving my power away to something else. And then, as Colleen reminded me, is that feeling of when you haven't. And it is that feeling of dread. And it's like, oh my God, I just knew and I didn't follow my intuition. And it really hits me in the heart when I think of the times when I didn't. I get a tightness in my chest, and my body's kind of it's got cellular memory around a moment in time where I actually separated from who I truly am, from the true knowing of who I am, and I separated from my higher self, that part of me that knows. That's the inner teacher. That's and so that's just occurred to me that when I haven't, it is like a form of giving my power away.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's really relevant. And just to stay integral to our time limit, I just have one quick question I want to throw out there, and I would love to hear your perspective on it. But it's like, given the stories and the evidence and the information and wisdom that you've shared, what's the best ways that people can really grow their intuition or really develop a deeper sense of connection to their own inner wisdom and inner intuition?
Yeah, I think that starting small is always a good thing. So start with like the little decisions in life so that you can gradually build trust. I find that, if you haven't been in the habit of listening to your intuition, it's like a friend that you've stopped listening to. It stops talking to you. So sometimes we have to get back to, the basics and starting from day one. Just tapping into like the feelings in the body. So like, what do I feel like eating right now? What do I feel like doing right now? And just tapping right into that body awareness. Any kind of practices that are going to create stillness in the mind in particular too. So whether that's meditation or journaling, because you need to be able to have that mental crazy monkey mind chatter slow down enough so that you can be in the stillness and being open and receptive to that inner tuition or that inner knowing. Being in nature is a great way to get the body in that place. Anything that puts you out of stress, because if you're in flight or fight, you're not going to be able to tap into that inner knowing. So it's really just about honoring it, starting small. The more you listen to it and take action from that place, the stronger it will become as well. And just having your body that clear channel, so clear mentally, also what you're physically doing, the food that you're feeding the body, like there's all these things that will get in the way of having the channel not be as strong as it could be. So just simple little practices like that I think are helpful.
Yeah, I could just add,
I like that.
I'm sure you said listening, Cole, probably 3 or 4 times. But one of the things that I work with is being curious, is just cultivating curiosity and being inquisitive, because it's a function of the creative mind, the innocent mind, and being quite childlike and being curious and being in innocence and inquisitiveness. And I won't disagree with you on what you said, Cole, about that fight or flight, but I had an experience whereby my son was caught in the rapids, and he was going down a flooded river on a boogie board, and I could see that he was really going to come into danger. He was only 6 years old, and so I was quite stressed, and as a mother had gone to the end result of, God, this could be disastrous. And it was really interesting. What happened is he hit a tree and then he went under, and I came up behind him, and some part of my body, everything just completely relaxed without me thinking, I've got to relax here, I've got to stop, I've got to be present. It's really interesting how life works and how our bodies just come into that knowing. And I got told, you've got to go under. And so I told him, he was only 6, and we actually went under this tree, not knowing there could have been branches, there could have been anything. And we came out the other side, and it was a really traumatic event, but it was an experience that sort of led me to have an understanding around, we're not always going to be ready. We're not always going to be clear. But life will initiate us, and if we do trust this guidance and we hear it and we take the action and follow it. I know when I heard this voice, I didn't question, oh my God, there could be branches, there could be, what's on the other side. I had no thought about anything. I just knew what I had to do, and I did it, and we came out the other side. But it could have been disastrous. It was traumatic as it turned out, because we came out 15 metres down, and he had a belly full of water, and there was vomiting and all sorts of things. But it was really a life-saving moment. It's just it's a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful awareness to have. It's a beautiful part of our nature to cultivate. But I hear you, Cole, on all the suggestions that you made, because that is the way that you cultivate it, and probably everything that you spoke to supported me in just having that trust. But I didn't have any thought or feelings or emotions. I just heard the command and I was gone. And the end result was, and it was quite effortless and ease, and the end result was clearly he's a 25-year-old young man now. Yeah. But there was a moment where it could have been disastrous, but it's fascinating.
I think it's interesting when the body goes into that space as well too. And I know there's probably a term to word this differently, but I find like that there's fear that comes in as opposed to danger. So when I always kind of differentiate the two, like the fight or flight thing or freeze thing is the fear thing, so that mental space, whereas when you're in that space of danger and you just like something just takes over in you and just knows that you need to, and you just without even thinking, you know exactly what to do. Yeah, so
it feels relaxing in a way. I mean, you haven't got time to sort of chill out, but there's just something that overtakes your body that's beyond what you could even prepare yourself for, in a way. And I guess it's the same way people lift cars. You know, people find the strength to lift cars off, you know, bodies, or lift. Yeah,
absolutely.
I like the way that you both have the inquiring mind, so asking the question and then listening and being able to receive the answer. But I also think it's really important to have an awareness of things that are changing around you. So having the capacity to see, and a lot of it is in nature. Recently, I've been fortunate to plant a garden, and there's a basil bush that's just gone ballistic. And when I looked into the properties of the basil, and I realized that it was actually about love and faithfulness, I was just like, well, that's perfect. I feel like my heart's opening expansively, and my faithfulness to myself and my practices is, and it was like all these symbols, and actually just being inquisitive, I think you said, Angie, to inquire, what is this? Why is it happening? Why is it happening here for me? What am I going to learn from this? What's it showing me? What's the sign?
That's so good. I love it. I love it how these just unfold as we get deeper and deeper into it, and it just opens and unlocks so many different channels. I want to thank you, ladies, for joining me again this week. It feels like we're just getting into the juiciness of our intuition. Do you have some closing statements while we're all still here?
Just keep practicing. Just keep tapping into it and just keep trusting. Yeah.
Trust your gut.
Yeah, I think mine is when you give up the need to know, that's when true knowing comes through.
That's so good. So good. I love it. I want to thank you guys for watching and tuning in and loving it, because we got plenty of little likes on here. Thank you all. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. We're going to do this regularly on a Tuesday. It feels really good just to share and open up the conversation, to hear from these wise elders, emerging elders in this beautiful community. And it's just nice to connect. And again, if you guys have any topics that you would like us to cover, maybe have any questions for these ladies to answer, please just leave them in the comment section, or you could even direct message any one of us, and we'll be open to having that conversation. So hope you have a lovely, lovely day, guys, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.